It is 6:12, and it's time for us to talk a little bit about the big story this morning, and that's the governor's address to a joint session of the legislature, talking about the budget problems here in California. On my far left is McLear, the governor's spokesperson. Thanks so much for joining us, Aaron. And right next to me, this is Gary Dietrich, a political analyst that we've spoken to many times. Thanks as well, Gary.
Hey, good to be here.
What can we expect today, Aaron, in this speech? How long is it going to be? What's the governor going to be saying?
Well, it's going to be relatively short and very to the point, talking about the crisis that's in front of us. He's going to give some context and some explanation for all these cuts he's been talking about. They're very difficult, but he's going to explain why they're necessary.
We were talking before we got ready for this segment, any possibility of revenue increasements on the horizon? That's a code word for tax increases.
I'll give Aaron a cover and say no.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, yeah, your bottom line is, we were talking before we went on in here, look, in the past the governor said, what do we have to do? And if it's kind of a 50-50 revenue split, cut, I don't think there's a lot of appetite for that. The governor, I think, has made that clear from the beginning. Just kind of verified that's where he's going to stake his position today. And interestingly, Dan, not only have Republicans, I think, cheered about this, and their new Republican caucus leaders, I think, more firm about that than they've ever been. Democrats themselves, Democratic leadership, you don't hear a lot of noises right now about ways to increase taxes. I think it's going to be a
So they've united for change, the Democrats and the Republicans? Is this the governor's feeling? He just says there's no way we can ask for taxes?
Well, we're united out of necessity. We've already cut $10 billion last fall, another $16 billion this past winter. So there's not a whole lot of places to cut. And the voters a couple weeks ago said loud and clear, live within your means, dial back, cut back on inefficiencies and redundancies. And so there's really not a whole lot of options right now. The governor's proposal is about the only way to go right now.
We keep hearing from all the different groups, not me, not us, not our group. We did a story earlier this morning about the SEIUs may go to court to fight the pay cut. Is that a viable option? Can they do that?
Well, they've already lost on that once, and Aaron knows that. I mean, they tried that route. The court said he can do that. And there's a couple of different mechanisms. I won't get all wonkish here about it. But if they won't agree, let's say they won't agree to a pay cut, governor could do another furlough day, essentially the same deal fiscally. But you're going to hear across the board people saying, please, not us. But that day, I think, has come. I mean, there were some rumblings over the weekend even about, maybe this is just another ploy, another positioning. I think that positioning deal is done. I mean, this is where we are. I think the governor does a couple things today, stakes out his own leadership on this thing, says no new taxes, and also, frankly, gives legislative leadership some cover. I mean, he doesn't have to run next year. A lot of these guys and gals do, and especially for Democrats, I think it's going to be very important that they say, hey, we tried our best. Governor made us do this. We had to swallow hard.
We've seen a whole schedule of protests that are planned for today. In the last couple of days, has the governor just been inundated with spokespeople, representatives for these different groups coming in and saying, please, spare us?
Sure, we hear them loud and clear. We understand how difficult each one of these cuts are. Each one of these cuts is going to affect somebody in California very deeply. We get that. But the problem is we have about a quarter less money than we thought we were going to have. So we need to basically deliver about a quarter fewer state services. We can only deal with the money that we have. We have to live within our means. That's exactly what these cuts are about.
Now, the other thing that we've heard is that apparently in California we don't have to abide by deadlines. We never do when it comes to budget. But we are really facing a time crunch here, according to John Chung. If we don't do this by, I think he said, the middle of June, then we're going to have to really resolve the crisis by, smoke and mirrors, because there's not going to be any money out there.
Yeah, we talked about how this is different than years past. This is different than budgets past. You're exactly right. We're not talking about months that we have to debate this and talk about taxes or revenues and which cuts and things like that. We have days to fix this. And the governor's going to talk about the urgency today, where we need to come together immediately and get this done. We can't delay this all summer.
I'll tell you one thing, Dan. Out of the Capitol, I don't think I've heard the sense of urgency. I mean, everybody's getting it, saying it has to be done. And the reason is I'm sure the governor says today, the state can't borrow any money otherwise. I mean, you're going to have creditors that say, you don't have any way to pay us back. So that's what the urgency is about. There's got to be short-term cash flow loans that the state's going to need come the middle of the summer. And those aren't going to happen if the deal doesn't get cut.
You say you get it. You say you get it. I don't know about you, but I get the feeling a lot of people out there, they don't get it. We're not playing around. We just don't have the money. Do you kind of get that feeling as well, that some people just don't understand the urgency to all this?
Well, Gary can talk better about this, but I think people are kind of desensitized. I mean, over the last couple of years, it's been a constant apocalypse. It's been a constant, the budget's, over, the budget, we can't get anything done, we're going to run out of money. But it's real this time. We've cut so much, and the revenues are down so much, there's just no choices left. So we don't have time for that debate. There's nothing to debate. There's really few options left, and that's what the governor's proposal represents.
I think what you're getting at, Dan, is there's been a lot of, people have felt like there's a lot of crying wolf going on, in the last couple of years. Well, the wolves come home, I mean, that's it. I mean, He's not just at the door, I think he's inside. So I think the reality is you're going to see in the next 12 to 18 months some things that I think are really going to surprise people, honestly. I think when they start talking about shorter school years, all kinds of things, I think people are going to be shocked at what has to happen to close this hole.
And one final note, I always have heard California leads the way. I heard today the governor of Hawaii is proposing they've got to have 3 furlough days a month over there because they have a budget crisis. I don't think we'll be the only state dealing with this.
47 states in the union are running a deficit right now, so we're not alone.
Some as a percentage, by the way, higher than ours.
Yeah, you're right.
You're both going to be very busy today, and hopefully we can be in touch with you and get more comments from you. Aaron and Gary, thank you both so much.
Thanks, Dan.
News 10 tomorrow. I'll be right back.